Today we are going to discuss about a very important law which was propagated by Sir Isaac Newton, who was a British physicist and a mathematician. And this law which we are going to understand is actually a set of three laws. Out of these three laws, today we are going to understand the very first law. In 1686, Sir Isaac Newton, in his book Principia Mathematica Philosophiae Naturalis, it is the name of the book, in which he propagated these laws. And he observed nature so beautifully, so close, and finally he got the laws which is existing in our nature. So, out of these three laws, today we are going to understand the very first law, and that we call Newton's first law of motion. So, if I categorize Newton's all laws of motion, it will be categorized in three categories. First law, then we are going to talk about a term called inertia. So today we are going to understand that also. So first law gives an idea about inertia, and that's why first law is also known as law of inertia. Second law will help us to calculate the magnitude of force which is being applied on any object. So we'll have a discussion about that also. And the third law tells us about the unique pair of action and reaction forces which is found everywhere in nature. So when we'll go through the third law, then we'll have a description about that. So today's topic is first law of motion. You have to understand in detail. So in Newton's first law, what is the law that first of all I am going to share with you. So what he observed, that in this universe, any object which is at rest or doing motion I am talking about right now about uniform motion, then that object gets a tendency to be a stubborn. Now what do you mean by stubborn? Anything which has a tendency to not change. So what he said to us, Sir Isaac Newton to us, that anything which is at rest or in doing uniform motion, it will continue to do the same kind of a state of motion, to be in the same kind of a state of motion, unless it is compelled by an external unbalanced force. Means, if a body is at rest, so it will remain at rest. Suppose this pen is lying somewhere on the ground. If nobody touches it, that means no external unbalanced force is being applied on the pen. If I come tomorrow also, even after 100 years also, if no force is being applied, I will find the pen here only, because it has a tendency to remain at rest. It doesn't want to change its state of rest. So this is one of type of tendencies there. And suppose an object is doing uniform motion, and according to uniform motion condition, what are the essential conditions? Means it is neither changing its speed nor its direction. Then also, in the absence of external unbalanced force, the body will continue its state of uniform motion. Means, if the force is not there, external unbalanced force is not there, the body will continue with its speed and with its direction. It's a very unique property. And believe me, when we hear about that object is at rest, so it will remain at rest, we easily believe it. But we don't believe that how a body can be found in motion when there is no force. But it is found. But yes, obviously, in the absence of force, it will not bring any change in its motion. That means it will continue with uniform motion, because during uniform motion change is not allowed, neither in the value of speed nor in the direction. So finally, I am summarizing this law that any object which is at rest or in uniform motion wants to continue its state of rest or uniform motion unless it is compelled by any external unbalanced force. So if I understand in a different way, that means if there will be an external unbalanced force, there is an external unbalanced force, then the body at rest cannot be at rest. It will have to break its tendency of being at rest. So what will happen? Then it will come to motion. And if the force is being applied on a body which is doing uniform motion, then that force will definitely going to change the tendency of uniform motion. That means either it will change the speed of the object, the force will change the speed of the object, or the direction, or in some cases it can change both also. But if the force is not there, then the object is allowed to continue its tendency of rest or motion, uniform motion. And this tendency is only known as inertia, that I will not change. The body at rest will say that I will remain at rest. The body in uniform motion will say that I will continue with the uniform motion. But this tendency is possible as long as force is not there. Once force comes into the situation, unbalanced force, then body has to change its state of rest or state of uniform motion. Now, to understand this motion, this law, we'll do an activity in a slow motion. And then we'll try to understand how inertia is acting place there. Inertia means the tendency to remain at rest or in uniform motion. In this activity, you could have seen that the lower container, when I shifted to that side, along with this container, this cap, which is not intacted firmly, is not going along with this container. It remains here only and then falls down. Then why hasn't it gone along with this container? Because when I applied force, unbalanced force, it was only applied on this lower container, this container. None of the force is being applied on this cap. So due to my force, the inertia, the tendency of this jar, this container to be at rest breaks, but this cap still wants to continue its state of rest. And that's why, due to different inertia, this kind of observation was there, that this went this side, and due to its inertia of rest to be at this same position, it remains at rest, and due to that, after when it comes in the air, due to gravitational pull, it is being pulled towards the earth. So this is the example. But one thing you have to take care, that between this surface and this surface, the value of friction should be very less. If the friction is higher between these two surfaces, that means this cap and this jar is intacted very well. In that situation, this will not be observed in a proper way. That means that they will go along with this. So due to inertia, the cap has been separated from this with this jar. So this is due to inertia. Okay. There are more examples of inertia which we will be able to understand when we will discuss about the application. So we have talked about law, and we have talked about one of the activity which ensures that yes, inertia exists, and it exists all around us, from a dust to the massive rocks. This inertia is always there. It's a universal tendency of any object. Now, if we talk about inertia, that is the tendency to be in the same state of motion or at rest, that means in uniform motion or rest, this tendency is only known as inertia. So if you think about the law, actually it is talking about a tendency to not change, and that means inertia. So that's why the first law is also known as law of inertia. Inertia is divided into two parts: inertia of rest and inertia of motion. Because by law itself it is saying that body which is at rest will remain at rest. So this is called inertia of rest in the absence of unbalanced force. That is a very key word which you have to use. And if the body is doing motion, which motion I talked about? Uniform motion. That means the body will continue with the uniform motion, so it will have a tendency of motion, and this tendency of continuing with the uniform motion is called inertia of motion in the absence of unbalanced force. So inertia of rest and inertia of motion. Now we'll have some application of inertia of rest or inertia of motion from our daily life. Now, first of all, have you ever played carom board? In that, what we do, we pile up the different coins, and sometime you could have observed in your life, when you hit with the striker to the lowest coin, that coin slips away and the rest of the coins do not fall. They remain intact with each other. But the lowest coin has come out with the force applied by the striker. Why does it happen? Due to inertia of rest. That means all the coins all have the inertia of rest before hitting by the striker. But once striker hits the lowest coin, its inertia changes due to unbalanced forces applied on that. But rest of the coins are intacted because they have a tendency to continue its state of rest. So sometimes they maintain their position and they do not fall. So this is an example of inertia of rest. Then if you observe the trees, you could have seen that fruits are attached with the branches. Now, when we shake branches vigorously, the fruits, especially which are ripened, detach easily from the branch. This is also due to inertia, because before shaking, the branch and the fruit both have inertia of rest. But when we apply force on the branch, the inertia of branch has changed from rest to motion. But the fruits are free from the applied force. So they want to continue their state of rest. And in this way, what happens? Branch detached from the fruit and fruit is pulled by the earth. That is due to inertia. One very important and very common observation, that sometime when you sit in the bus at some seat, what happens? If driver suddenly accelerates the bus, you see that you fall backward side. Now what is the reason behind it? So just to try to understand it. When the bus is at rest, so our whole body is intact with the seat. The lower part is intact with the seat with the friction force. But upper part, we have whole body has different movable parts. So when we are sitting on that, the lower part is connected with the seat, but the upper part is not firmly connected because it is not in contact with the seat. So what happens when the driver starts bus suddenly? Before starting, me and the whole bus was having the inertia of rest. But when the driver accelerates, it applies force on the bus. And since our lower part is impacted with the bus, so it comes under the effect of that force and its inertia from rest changes to motion. But this part, the upper part, still wants to continue its state of rest. So what happens? Our lower part moves forward and the upper part remains at the same position. It's not actually we are falling backward. We are actually, the lower part is moving ahead and this part we want to remain at the same position. And in that manner we fall backward. So another way of understanding inertia of rest is that sometimes we keep luggage on the roof of the buses and all. So there we need to tie it. Why there is a need to tie it? Because again the same thing is there. When if you have not tied the luggage and all of a sudden the vehicle starts. So vehicle will lose its inertia because the force is being applied by the engine. But the luggage has a tendency to remain at its state of rest. So finally what will happen? The bus will move ahead and the luggage will, due to its inertia of rest, will remain at same position and finally luggage will fall backside. So that's why we need to tie it. So there are various examples which talks about inertia of rest. Then what are the examples for inertia of motion around us? In the bus only, suppose the bus is going on and you are sitting. Then bus and you both have the inertia of motion. And it will be have inertia of motion in both bus and me as long as the unbalanced force is not applied. But all of a sudden, due to any reason, the driver applies brakes. Then what will happen? In that situation, brake is jamming the tires, seizing the tires, the bus will come to stop. That means our again lower part now will lose its inertia of motion and tries to come to rest because the force, it is under the effect of force of the bus. But the upper part still wants to continue its motion. So what happens? It seizes, this lower part seizes, but the upper part wants to continue motion, and that's why we fall forward. So it is due to inertia of motion. Similarly, we always advise that we should never try to come down from a running train. Why? Because suppose you are standing on the doorstep of the train and you try to step down on the platform while the train was still running. So what will happen? When the train is running, that means you and the train both have the inertia of motion. But what happens when you step down on the platform? The friction between your foot and the platform tries to seize your leg. But upper part of your body still wants to continue its state of motion due to its inertia. And in this situation, if we are not able to match with the speed, then sometime it happens, we see so many accidents, train accidents. So, how can we do this stepping down from the train? Wait for the train to stop. Otherwise, there is a great chance of accident. So, due to inertia, mismanagement of inertia, the lower part of the leg is trying to come to at rest, but the upper part is still in motion, and due to this mismatch, we observe a great accidents also. So this is inertia. So inertia is somewhere very important for us, and sometimes it is very dangerous also. So it's all upon us how to cooperate with nature, because these are natural tendencies. So we have to comply with all the laws which is existing in nature. So now somewhere inertia motion is termed in two respects: inertia of speed and inertia of direction. So that means one is they have a tendency not to change its speed. Okay, that due to that, so many experiences we have done, we have discussed so many things, and sometimes the direction is also not to be changed because it's a uniform motion situation. So tendency to not change the direction and not change the speed, both are observed. So now some example of inertia of direction also we should understand. Actually it is a part of inertia of motion only, because in uniform motion has this inertia of motion is a what? Based on uniform motion. So in uniform motion speed change is also not allowed and direction is also not allowed. So that means body wants to neither change its speed nor its direction. But sometimes what happens? Suppose you are driving a car and you take a sharp turn. So all the passengers, suppose your father, your mother, everybody is sitting in the car, and you take a sharp turn. Now before taking sharp turn, we all have, your family member have the direction of this way, straight. But when you take a turn, what happens? Now, due to our inertia of direction, we still want to continue on a straight path. But since lower part is connected with the car seat, so due to turn, the lower part start turning. Suppose I am taking on the right side, turning right. But this body part, upper body part, still want to continue this direction. So in that situation, mismatch is there. And if you take a very sharp turn, sometime we are thrown outside the car also. If the very severe accident takes place. So sharp turn, you should avoid the sharp turns. You should take a slow turn. So this is the based on inertia of direction. That upper part still wants to maintain the straight direction, but the lower part has turned to right side or left side, whichever is there. So you have to understand that their inertia of direction works. Okay. So that's why in cars or anywhere, seat belts are provided. Why? Because you never know during your journey when the driver is going to apply a brake. So what will happen? Due to your inertia, you have always tendency to move forward. Now in that situation, no force is there to stop you, and then you will collide with the dashboard of the car or anywhere, and that will give you a severe injury. So to stop that, we use seat belts in our car or anywhere for our protection. So that is due to stop the inertia. So that's all there. Now, at last, we will discuss about the relation between inertia and mass. From your common experience, you know, suppose a small pebble is there. So what we do? Sometimes we do in the playing mood, we just kick it and we see that the stone has thrown away somewhere. But what if a large stone is kept there on the road? Would you be able to kick that? Do you think that your kick will shift that large stone from that road? No, you will not dare to do so, because a stone has a lesser tendency to remain at that same place. So that's why by applying a small value of force, the small pebble was able to be thrown away. But when we talk about stone, a large stone, it has a greater mass, and greater mass means you have to apply larger force. And whatever it is measured that if some object is needed large amount of force to be changed from rest to motion or motion to rest, that means it has a large tendency to not change because it requires large force to be changed. So in case of pebble, which has a smaller mass, it is easy to shift. It is easy to break its tendency by applying a small force. But for large stone, it is very difficult. So what can we conclude from that? That means a body with larger mass will have a larger tendency to not change, because that requires large amount of force. But the object with smaller mass can be easily changed from rest to motion or motion to rest. So tell me, a cycle has a greater tendency, that means greater inertia, or a truck? So obviously truck has a higher mass, larger mass, so it will have a higher tendency of inertia. And the cycle, it has also some tendency, but obviously in comparison with truck, it will have a lower value of inertia because it has a lower mass. Okay, that is all from today's class. Thank you very much.